students, you remember few days back we did a lesson on biodiversity. Now can you take that note, biodiversity, and the second assignment, importance of biodiversity. Now we'll just see now what is biodiversity and what is ecosystem. Now what is an ecosystem? Refresh your mind. Give an example of ecosystem. You talk of a grassland, it's an ecosystem. A desert is an ecosystem. Coral reef is an ecosystem. A pond or rainforest, all these are ecosystem. And there is, what is ecosystem? How are you going to define? Explain. Ecosystem, we always say there is an interrelationship between the plants and animals, all living organisms, and their interaction with the environment. Interaction with the environment, that is the outside world, like temperature, the climatic conditions, the soil, pH of water, presence of water or absence of water. Now these are all environment. So it is interrelationship between plants and animals and how they interact with the environment. And this is how we explain ecosystems. Then we talk of biodiversity. Now what is biodiversity? Diversity of living organisms. It can be plants or it can be animals. When we talk of plants, we talk of one cell plants to more complicated plants. In the case of animals, we talk of simple microorganisms up to more advanced animals, and they always interact with the environment. Now this is how we talk of biodiversity. They diversify, say various organisms and also different species, and within the species also there are variations. So we call it is the diversity of animals and plants. Today we will look at why biodiversity is important. Why it is important? Because any disturbance in this is going to have drastic effects in a country, or our weather patterns or climatic conditions. So you can see we have learned that organisms in an ecosystem are interdependent and how they can affect the physical conditions around them. Now see what is happening. People are destroying forest. People are destroying forest. As a consequence, it affects our rainfall. When the rainfall becomes less and less, then what we see is we found a drought, and less rainfall, plants cannot grow properly because there is lack of water. So these are the consequences of destroying forests. Now affect the physical conditions around them. Physical conditions can be the temperature, pressure, presence of water in the soil, things like that. These ecosystems are interlinked on large scale across the earth. How they are interlinked with all the places in the world. Interlinked. Its biodiversity is reduced in one area. When there is a change in one area, the natural balance may be affected elsewhere. That is, if we take Sri Lanka, if there is a change, drastic change in one particular place that can affect other areas in the country. So you have to see that why this biodiversity is so important and why we should look after these plants and animals in our ecosystems. Its biodiversity is reduced in one area, the natural balance may be affected in elsewhere. Healthy biodiversity allows large-scale ecosystem to function and self-regulate. Now you can see healthy biodiversity. Healthy biodiversity means we must allow these animals and plants to grow. That is why we say healthy, more animals, more plants. If we start cutting trees, then it is not healthy biodiversity because the plant population is decreasing. If we keep on killing animals, the animal population will go down, which we should not do. We have to see that these ecosystems must be able to develop on their own and more animals and more plants to be there, so that we will have a better natural balance in our country. Healthy biodiversity allows large-scale ecosystem to function and self-regulate. They regulate on their own. They can manage the plants, animals, microorganisms and the weather patterns. That is the environment. It will all self-regulate nicely. Air and water of the planet are purified by the action of wide range of organisms. Wide range of organisms. Now you know, there are, if we talk of certain bacteria fix nitrogen in the air and fix it as nitrate. If it is waterlogged soil, you know these bacteria we call denitrifying bacteria. Denitrifying bacteria, they break nitrates and release as ammonia into the air. So what are they doing? This is not a healthy situation. So this is why we say air and water of the planet are purified by the action of wide range of organisms. Wide range of organisms. Waste is decomposed by bacteria and fungi and make them non-toxic. Making them non-toxic. Waste is decomposed by bacteria. Decomposed by fungi. You can see if you keep some wood, logs in a corner, in the ground, you can see fungi growing. Now fungi, what is happening? The fungi will send mycelia into the logs and decompose by secreting digestive juices and absorbing them. So this is how they act on these wood and things like that. So decomposition takes place by bacteria and fungi and making them non-toxic. Microorganisms in soil and water converts ammonia into nitrates and where it can be taken up by plants. So nitrogen can be fixed as nitrates by nitrifying bacteria. You find in leguminous plants like mimosa. We call it Mimosa pudica. That is called the touch me not. That plant has nodules in the roots, and these bacteria in these root nodules we call nitrifying bacteria. They take nitrogen from the air and fix it as nitrates. These nitrates can be absorbed by the plants. So this is a healthy situation. Photosynthesis plays an important part in stabilizing atmosphere and world climate. How is that? Photosynthesis. Now, when we have more plants, carbon dioxide in the air is taken up by these plants for photosynthesis. If the plants are not there, the carbon dioxide concentration increases in the atmosphere. Now, increase of carbon dioxide and increase of methane in the atmosphere is causing global warming. What happens when there is global warming? The ice in the different poles, ice dissolves and the water level in the sea will rise. And part of these islands like Sri Lanka, Maldives, part of England, all this can go underwater. So therefore, now we must see the importance of we can realize photosynthesis plays an important part. Why? The carbon dioxide in the air is taken by plants. For that, we must have more plants. If we are cutting plants, then what happens? We don't have enough plants to make use of this carbon dioxide in the air. How did this carbon dioxide come into the air? Movement of cars, they are burning petrol. Then we are having a lot of industries. From the industries, from the chimneys, carbon dioxide is let go to the atmosphere. So all this carbon dioxide will concentrate in the atmosphere and the global temperature will go up. So we have to grow lot of plants. Green is very, very important, so that more plants have to be grown so that carbon dioxide will be used by those plants, and by photosynthesis we get more food also. Absorb water from the soil and release into the atmosphere through transpiration. This determines the rainfall. Another reason, when there are more plants, plants will take water in the soil and taken it to the leaves, and transpiration takes place. Transpiration, what is transpiration? Loss of water from the leaves through the stomata into the atmosphere. Now this water collects in the atmosphere and come down as rain, which is beneficial for the plants and for the human and the animal population. Biodiversity also provides genetic diversity, which allow us to develop crops, livestock, fisheries and forests. Now this biodiversity, there is species, there is mutation among the species, and we have different species developing among these animals. So this is another advantage of having a rich biodiversity. Allow further development by crossbreeding and genetic engineering. Crossbreeding and genetic engineering. Now, breeding, we take the animals with special characteristics and cross them with another animal, and we get proper healthy breeds. This is how we do this breeding. Biodiversity provides potential of plants to produce chemicals that are important for human life. This is to say that plants have lot of chemical can be used as medicine. We extract these chemicals from the plants and produce medicine. So this is another advantage that we can make use of these plants. How do you measure this? How do you measure biodiversity? Biodiversity is simply measured by the species richness, the number of species in the area. Particular ecosystem, how do we measure the biodiversity of this? We measure the number of animals, one particular species, how they are distributed, whether they are very few or they are more concentrated. Now that is called the species richness. We can do a count. We will say deer. If we count the number of deer in this particular area, then we know this particular species is rich in this ecosystem or not. So That is called species richness. Species richness. So biodiversity is simply measured by the species richness, that is the number of species in a particular area. It is necessary to observe every different type of organism in the area to build up a picture of the ecosystem. We have to take account of each and every type of plant, every species and every species of animals to get a good count of animals and plants. By that we can see the species richness in this particular biodiversity, in this particular ecosystem. Changes in the species, changes in the overall balance of the ecosystem, changes of the species. If we go on killing one particular species of animals, this particular species of animals will get extinct from this particular ecosystem. Because of that, we have certain rules and regulation controlling the killings of these animals in these ecosystems. Example, changes in the species, changes in the overall balance of the ecosystem. Example, salmon in rivers gives an indication of quality of water and lack of pollution. Now see, salmon in the water depends on the quality of water and lack of pollution. Nowadays these ponds, sea, everything is getting polluted. By that the animals die. Now you can see these days how these animals in the sea are getting killed and getting drifted to our beaches, and all the rare animals. Now we will look at the keystone species. They have a particular impact on the environment in which they live. These animals are called keystone species. We take an example. Sea otters play a major role in the survival of giant kelp forest in the ocean. These are plants. Giant kelp is a plant that is at the bottom of the sea. It's growing at the base of the sea. Now these sea otters play a major role in the survival of this giant kelp forest. Kelp is the main food of purple and red sea urchins. Now you see these urchins that are living at the bottom of the sea feed on these kelp, giant kelp forests, these plants. So these urchins are feeding on these plants. What happens when these urchins population is increasing? They destroy all the giant kelp that are found at the bottom of the sea. Kelp is the main food of purple and red sea urchins. Sea otters feed on the sea urchins. Now these sea otters, they feed on the sea urchins. They feed on the sea urchins. Then what happens to the population of the sea urchins? Sea urchin population goes down. It goes down. When that population is going down, the giant kelp begins to grow freely, because these sea urchins number is reducing, so there are few sea urchins available to feed on these giant kelp. The kelp start growing freely. Then what happens? Sea otters feed on the sea urchins. This population goes down. Kelp grows very fast. Kelp grows very fast. Sea otters roam in the kelp forest at the bottom of the sea and feed on sea urchins. They are feeding on the sea urchin. When the kelp forests are growing, otters cannot, now see this, sea otter cannot find this sea urchin so easily. Then sea otters population begin to increase. Sea otters population begins to increase. Kelp forests grow very fast. Sea otters roam in the kelp forest at the bottom of the sea and feed on sea urchins. This reduces the number of sea urchins. Sea urchins, to avoid the predators, live in the rocks, live in the rock crevices, which allows the kelp forest to grow very fast. Sea otters cannot find these sea urchins. Forest grows inside, and then sea otters cannot find them so easily. The sea otters are the keystone species. This animal maintains the biodiversity of the whole system. The sea otters are controlling the biodiversity at the bottom of the sea. Sea otters can control the number of sea urchins in the water. When the population is decreased, the plants grow. As the plants grow, the otters can feed on this. So this is how this is controlled, the population of sea otters, the giant kelp forest, and the sea urchins, which we call keystone species. This is an important area. Now we complete this lesson from here, and we'll continue from here the next time. So thank you very much. God bless you. Stay safe. Keep on studying.